All right, Broncos country, we're out here at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Cecil Lammey, Andrew Mason here. We just got done watching the first team practice, the national team, although we had to kind of check the roster online to see. And let's start with tight ends because we know the Broncos are going to have their eyes on tight ends in this draft class.
Yes.
And let's start with Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, who had a day that I don't think we were expecting in terms of where he was strongest.
Yes, and I think everyone out there needs to recalibrate some of the projections that you saw about Fannin. I mean, I saw some people talking about him as a potential first-round pick. That's not going to happen. I had a second-round grade on him, an early swipe. And you see out here, Mace, that he was lining up at fullback. He needs some work there as a blocker. And then as a receiver, maybe some nerves. And you said it, we need to reiterate it here for the audience. Like, it's about the week. It's not about the first day. Fannin with a drop. Fannin maybe not as impressive as a receiver as we maybe expected him to be. But, man, that size, the way he moves, some really positives there from Fannin as well.
He looked a little tight, but I think also, and we talked about this when you and I were watching practice, they're testing him because other tight ends went with the receivers and defensive backs for one-on-one.
Right.
They had Fannin go with the O-linemen and the D-linemen and the linebackers and the running backs for the 9-on-7 period, and that's where we saw him line up at fullback. And so these are usually team-driven, scout-driven decisions that, okay, they want to see him get these reps at a spot. And we were talking about this with tight ends at the Shrine Bowl as well. We're seeing more and more. They want to get a look at these guys at fullback.
Yeah, they want to get a look at them where they need to know where their hole's at. Terrance Ferguson, though, from Oregon, we got to talk about him.
Yeah.
A Littleton, Colorado product who was the best tight end for the national team in this first day, catching everything that was thrown at him, looking good as a route runner, easy open, and unlike Fannin, when it was a comeback, Mace, he was coming back to the ball using that frame, big frame, to kind of present the biggest target for his quarterback.
And that was necessary because, unfortunately, for the pass catchers, the quarterbacks out here weren't doing them a lot of favors. You know, it's probably a good thing that we're not talking about the Broncos needing a quarterback because, at least for the national team, you weren't going to find any answers.
Yeah, you weren't going to find that out here.
Speaking of pass catchers, Tez Johnson, a lot of people talking about him. Of course, there is the relationship with Bo Nix being, being his brother.
Yes.
By adoption, of course, but being very close with the Nix family, obviously. Teammates at Oregon, but people talking about Tez Johnson because of that number 156 in terms of what he weighed in at.
Yep.
But despite his lack of stature, his short wingspan, catching everything in sight out here and getting open, I actually made the comp today to say, okay, this is a little Hunter Renfrow-esque. Like, okay, small hands, small wingspan, small stature, making plays left and right.
Yeah, big heart, right?
Yeah.
Can't measure that heart. And he's always open. Like, always open.
Like, in Hunter Renfrow, when he was out, he was the same thing. It's
same thing.
Forget about his measurables. He's just getting open constantly.
Yes, so an easy open, an easy target. There was one downfield throw that they tried, and I don't know why they tried it because he's a small guy and he's not going to sky above defenders. But anything underneath, any sort of drag route, he was open all the time. So interesting conversation, interesting late round, 7th round dart, something like that. If you're looking for more weapons, as the Broncos may be doing, of course, this year.
I mean, he isn't going to fit into the size templates, but this is one where you probably have to look a little beyond that. Finally, there was in the team period today, defensive line dominated. Not a lot of room to roam for the running backs out there for the national team. And the guy who jumped out to both of us was Virginia Tech's Aeneas Peebles.
Yeah, that's your guy, man. Coming into this game, we wanted to see him.
Yep.
And the first two plays of the team period, the offense couldn't do anything because of Peebles, because of the knifing through the offensive line. Mm-hmm. No live tackling, of course, in practice, but disrupting plays all the time. So defensive line wins the day. Peebles, the star of the day when it comes to the fellas up front.
And that's an area, it's low-key, but still a Broncos need because you're looking at some expiring contracts after this season. You're looking, of course, at DJ Jones heading into free agency if the Broncos don't re-sign him between now and March. Broncos could use some fortification up front and could use a little bit more punch, and I think it's one of the areas we saw exposed there down the stretch as well at the Broncos. They improved this year on the defensive line. They need to get a little bit more there. So Peebles could be one of those guys they take a look at. We're going to watch the American team practice here later on, and then later on today, of course, we've got Orange and Blue today from here in Mobile as we're going to wrap up the day. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the big thing the Broncos did, which was a massive donation, basically 8 figures donation to supply football helmets for every high school player and every high school program in the state of Colorado. No team's ever done anything quite like this to support the game of football at a grassroots level in their backyard like the Broncos did.
Yeah, they win at the ownership level all the time.
Yep. For Cease, I'm Mace. We'll have plenty more to come from down here in LA, Lower Alabama, both today and over the next couple of days. Take care. Thanks for watching.